Hello, welcome to Metro Nashville Public Schools High Impact Tutoring. This is Module 2, Zearn Math, for tutors who will be working with students in 4th through 8th grade math. Here's an overview of the training modules. You have already completed Module 1, Getting Started. Today I will guide you through Module 2, Zearn Math. This module is specifically designed for tutors who will be working with 4th through 8th grade math. You'll finish up with modules on Accelerating Scholars Technology and Childhood Protection in FERPA. As you've learned in previous modules, high-impact tutoring is designed around the principle that when tutors are properly trained and prepared, meet frequently with a small number of students at a time, provide tutoring ideally during the school day, and give regular and quality feedback about student progress, students are given a tremendous opportunity to make up the learning lost as a result of school closures during the COVID-19 global pandemic. This module continues our effort to provide you with the comprehensive training needed in order to play your critical role. Please take a moment to read through the objectives of this module. In this session, we will learn about Tennessee's elementary and middle school math tutoring curriculum, Zearn. We'll understand how the Zearn computer-directed lessons will be integrated into your tutoring sessions. And we'll learn how to access and utilize the resources you will need for your tutoring sessions. We'll start with an introduction to Zearn and why we're using this particular curriculum in elementary and middle school math tutoring. As we all know, students across the state had different access to instruction in spring 2020 and throughout the 2020-2021 school year. This resulted in lower average proficiency across the state, specifically in math and early reading. Beginning in the 2020-2021 school year through the summer of 2024, the Tennessee Department of Education is investing elementary and secondary school emergency relief, or ESSER, funding in Tennessee All-Core tutoring supports. Through a grant matching program, Tennessee All-Core is available to both school districts and community partners. Combining funding that is available at the state, district, and community levels, Tennessee can dramatically increase the amount of learning time children have access to, helping to mitigate learning loss and accelerate student achievement. Metro Nashville Public Schools is one of 87 participating Tennessee All-Core districts. Through a competitive procurement process, Zearn has been selected to provide the mathematics placement and progress monitoring platform for districts participating in Tennessee All-Core. Zearn is provided at no cost for all Tennessee All-Core districts and allows all grade 1 through 8 students to access and use Zearn. Zearn has a unique research-based design to continuously assess students' knowledge and learning gaps the entire time they are on the platform, including length of time to respond to any questions, where mistakes are made, and how misconceptions are related to errors. A recent study of over 100,000 students in 800 schools showed that Zearn, when used correctly, provides an additional 1.5 months of instruction. Further, Zearn shows 2 to 3 times growth in proficiency rates. Pause the video for a moment and navigate back to the page where you accessed this video training link. You'll see a link to supplemental training videos. Please take a moment to watch the Introduction to Zearn before returning to this training module. Research shows that high-impact, personalized tutoring is an effective way to increase both individual student achievement and collective educational equity. With the addition of a research-based, high-quality curriculum such as Zearn, your efforts in partnership with Metro Nashville Public Schools can do great things to combat the learning loss our students have experienced. Throughout the rest of this session, we'll dig more deeply into where you can find your resources and materials, how your time will be spent during your tutoring sessions, and how to prepare for your tutoring sessions. Now that you've learned a little bit more about Zearn and how this curriculum was chosen, let's take a look at what Zearn will look like in practice in your tutoring sessions. In Accelerating Scholars Tutoring, we'll be utilizing 3 components of Zearn, 2 of which you see outlined on the screen below. Digital lessons with just-in-time support will offer a consistent structure of learning activities designed to accelerate learning by integrating unfinished learning into the context of new learning. Students will explore new concepts with real on-screen teachers, interactive problem solving, and guided paper and pencil student notes. We'll also use flexible materials for hands-on problem solving. The flexible instructional materials will support you as tutors with facilitating lively math discussions where students explore different ways to solve problems, unlocking creativity and joy with math. Tutors are supported through on-demand professional development to review instructional strategies. In addition to the digital lessons and flexible instructional materials, we'll be utilizing Zearn for progress monitoring. Real-time reports on student learning will provide visibility into student learning and where students need additional support to move forward in their learning. Our administrators and teachers will be able to see reports from tutoring sessions to monitor productivity and progress in math learning. We'll also be able to provide families with real-time reports on how their students are progressing in math. As you can see below, your tutoring sessions are broken into 3 main sections, beginning with problem solving, the tutor-led portion of the session, followed by time to work on a digital lesson, and finally, a session closing. In the problem solving portion of the session, tutors will open the session using flexible instructional materials from Zearn, specifically word problems. Tutors will facilitate math discussions where students can explore different ways to solve problems and discuss their thinking out loud with their tutors and other peers if it's a group session. Problem solving is the first 10 to 15 minutes of your tutoring session. It's an opportunity to activate prior knowledge and deepen conceptual understanding and mathematical fluency. This portion of the session also gives you an opportunity to learn more about your students' current knowledge and any gaps or misconceptions you may need to address. Let's take a look at a sample 5th grade word problem that you might use to open your tutoring session. Read along with me as I read the problem out loud. Mrs. Beach prepared copies for 4 reading groups. She made 6 copies for each group. How many copies did Mrs. Beach make? This problem has 3 parts. In part A, the students are asked to draw a tape diagram or a pictorial model that can represent a mathematical relationship, also known as a bar model or a fraction strip. Students are asked to write both an addition and a multiplication sentence to solve, and discuss with a partner or you as the tutor why you're able to add or multiply to solve this problem. And finally, students are asked to solve for what fraction of the copies is needed for 3 groups. To show that, they will shade the tape diagram. Let's take a look at the additional guidance you would have in your teacher guide to help you guide students through how to solve this problem. In part A, students were asked to draw a tape diagram. Here you can see the pictorial model showing 6 copies needed for 4 groups of students. Part B asked students to write both an addition and a multiplication sentence to solve the problem, and to discuss with a partner why they were able to add or multiply to solve this problem. As you can see noted in the answer guidance, multiplication is repeated addition. Both number sentences mean 4 groups of 6 and lead to the same solution of 24. Finally, Part C asks students to determine what portion of the copies or what fraction of the copies would be needed for 3 groups. As you can see, this example shows the shaded portion of the tape diagram, 3/4, as the amount of copies needed for 3 of the 4 groups. The second portion of your tutoring session is the digital lesson. During this time, students will log into Zearn's online math platform and complete an interactive digital lesson. Students are able to work at their own pace, automatically progressing as they complete the activities. If they don't finish a lesson in one session, that's okay. They begin where they left off the next time they log in. During this portion of the session, we'll ask you as the tutor to follow along with your student. Provide additional support when your student struggles with any concepts or problems in the digital lesson. Zearn digital math lessons offer a consistent structure of learning activities designed to accelerate learning by integrating unfinished learning into the context of new learning. Each digital lesson contains a fluency practice, an opportunity to learn new math, a show what you know portion, and a time to grow your brain. The fluency practice, or number gym, is a fluency experience that helps students in grades 1 through 5 build foundational number sentence. After number gym, all students in grade 1 through 8 complete lesson-aligned fluencies that develop procedural fluency and prepare students for new content. After fluency practice, students learn new concepts during guided practice activities. Each activity explores new concepts with real on-screen teachers, interactive digital manipulatives, and pause points where students stop and do math. Throughout each activity, students are prompted to complete guided paper and pencil student notes. Finally, students demonstrate their understanding of the lesson in Zearn's Tower of Power, an embedded daily diagnostic that assesses understanding and automatically launches just-in-time support when students need it. After students complete a Tower of Power, they earn a digital badge and automatically progress to the next lesson. Pause this video for a moment and navigate back to the page where you accessed the video training link. You'll see a link to supplemental training videos. Please take a moment to watch the independent digital lessons before returning to this training module. Now that you have a better understanding of the components of a Zearn session and what it will look like in practice, let's talk about where to access and how to use the tutoring materials provided. As a reminder, we'll focus on the 3 Zearn session components: problem solving, digital lessons, and a session closing or reflection time. To access your curriculum materials, you can go directly to Go Schoolbox and click on the Resources tab of your top menu bar. You will then select View More for the resource you want to access, and you'll be able to open or download the document. Curriculum resources and these training modules are available through both Go Schoolbox and the Tutor Resources page of the MNPS website. The main resource that you'll need for your tutoring sessions is your teacher guide. Your teacher guide will contain information about the particular units that students are studying in class. All of the Zearn units, or missions as they're called in the program, will be assigned in the order that directly follows what students are learning in class. For example, when 5th graders are in Unit 1, Finding Volume, they'll also be working on the Zearn mission related to finding volume. Your teacher guide includes a detailed description of each session component in case you need to review the information that you've learned in this training. Your teacher guide has a helpful table of contents where you can jump to a specific lesson without needing to scroll past previous lessons. Finally, your teacher guide includes the session plans themselves. As you can see in the example below, each session plan will contain the word problem that you'll use in the opening activity, as well as the solution to that problem. The session plan will also include a daily reminder for students to log into their independent digital lessons. If you're tutoring virtually, please ask your student to share his or her screen so that you can follow along with the digital lesson as your student works. We'll go over how to do this in the upcoming slides. Finally, there's time for a session closing. During this time, you'll prompt students to reflect on the session and what they've learned today. It's also a great time to reflect with your student and provide any useful feedback about his or her effort and what went well in today's session. Please note that students will have access to a student workbook with the word problems for each tutoring session and additional space to take notes and make computations as they work through the digital lessons. Let's talk a little bit about your role as a tutor monitoring digital lessons while your students work. One of the exciting benefits of using Zearn as a tutoring curriculum is that our students will get the benefit of both a one-on-one or small group tutor and the targeted digital lessons. While students are working on digital lessons, especially if you're in virtual tutoring, we'll ask that students share their screen with you as the tutor so that you can follow along and provide additional support. What you see on the screen here is a typical view of a virtual classroom for one of our tutoring sessions. If you're new to virtual tutoring, don't worry. We'll get much more in depth with how to use the virtual classroom and all of its tools in Module 3, Accelerating Scholars Technology. For now, we wanted to note that it's very simple for a student or tutor to share his or her screen so you can follow along with what your students are doing in their digital Zearn lessons as the tutor. Students will simply click this share screen button in the bottom corner of their virtual classroom, and you'll be able to see what they're working on, as shown here. So putting this all together, how do we best prepare for tutoring sessions? Before each tutoring session, we recommend that tutors spend approximately 15 minutes locating and organizing session materials. Review any notes from your previous tutoring session so that you can review prior topics with your student as needed. You'll also want to review the problem-solving activity that you'll use, the specific word problem that you'll be working on in the first portion of your tutoring session. Here are some quick notes for successful planning for tutors of accelerating scholars. As we said, set aside 15 minutes to plan for a successful session execution prior to the start of each tutoring session. We also recommend that tutors log in 3 to 5 minutes early before each virtual session to ensure that you're on time and ready to start when the student arrives. As your 30-minute session comes to a close, finish the activity of the day or get to a good stopping place. Spend some time reflecting on what went well and giving any positive feedback to your student about his or her effort. And finally, be sure to complete your session feedback survey after every third session. We'll address the feedback completion more in depth in Module 3. After your session, make sure you note what was completed, any places where the student struggled, and where they had successes. As we've said, complete the weekly session survey and prepare for your next session. We'd love to hear from you. What questions do you still have about the curriculum materials for 4th through 8th grade math? Please share your questions with us by emailing tutoring@mnps.org so that we can make sure you have all the support you need to be a successful tutor from day one. Each school has a tutor lead who is designated to assist tutors and students with making the program run smoothly. The tutor lead should be your first line of contact in the event of an emergency or if you have any school-specific questions. If you have questions about policy, tutoring practices, anything that goes beyond the school level, including questions about the Go School Box platform, you can submit those to tutoring@mnps.org. Thank you for serving as an Accelerating Scholars tutor. Your contribution to student learning is invaluable. And thank you for taking the time to complete this module. You may now move on to Module 3.